Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of today's guests on Donnie and Dolly, including Alain Vigneault, standing by, are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants have 2 final home games this weekend before their Christmas break. Saturday, they take on Prince George with a 7 p.m. puck drop. Sunday, they face Seattle, 4 p.m. Visit vancouvergiants.com/tickets for ticket details. Roberto Luongo night at Rogers Arena. His name is going to be unveiled in the Canucks Ring of Honor. It's the Canucks against the team Roberto Luongo now works for in the front office, the Florida Panthers. And we're joined now by Alain Vigneault, who was Roberto's head coach for 7 of Roberto's 8 seasons in Vancouver. He's Roberto's the winningest goaltender
all time
in Canuck club history. Alain Vigneault, the winningest head coach in Canuck club history. Alain, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
My pleasure. Real well, thank you.
Your reaction to Roberto getting his name placed in the Canucks Ring of Honor, Alain?
Oh, I'm not surprised. I mean, obviously he was a great goaltender for the Canucks, but his whole career, I mean, he was, at his time, he was one of the top performers in the goaltending position. A lot of wins, an unbelievable competitor. His preparation was by far one of the best that I've ever seen. The way he just, got himself ready for games and the way he prepared himself and the impact he had on the team and his teammates was without a doubt one of the top during that time. And it's a great honor for a great person.
What did that preparation consist of, Alain, back in the day?
Well, back in the day, I had a real hard time with Louis about on game days and not going on the ice. If you remember, we were one of the first teams that got away from the infamous morning skate. I believed in bringing the guys down to the rink and doing some off-ice stuff and some off-ice preparation. But Roberto was a stickler for, touching the ice and seeing some pucks in the morning. So we had our fair share of discussions on that, but at the end of the day, he felt that that's what got him best prepared for the games. And ultimately, he was right. He was an outstanding goaltender. And so we found a way to always give him, 1 or 2 shooters in that morning skate. And he went out there and did what he had to do to prepare himself for the night. And he was, he had that pregame routine where at a certain time he'd stand up and go right to the door. And from there he had sort of these side steps that he would do for, I want to say 10 or 15 minutes before stepping out for warm-up, where you could see that he was getting himself in that mental zone that you need to get into to be able to go out on the ice and perform. And boy, did he perform real well on most of the nights.
It sounds like he was quirky, like a lot of goaltenders. Alain, was it for you as a head coach a case of, okay, leave him alone, whatever to a point, leave him alone, whatever Roberto wants?
No, you know what? I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, all players, not just goaltenders, but all players have their ways of, finding their zone, and they know how to what they need to do to get there. In Roberto's case, though, I mean, he was easy to talk to as a teammate in the room during the game, before the game. But then, when it was close to game time, like all players, he had that way of zoning in and tuning things out and doing what he had to do to be able to go on the ice and perform. And, we, at one point, as everyone knows, we named him captain. If we named him captain, it was because he was a great leader and he was able to, influence players, teammates, the right way so that they would get themselves ready and they would be able to go out on the ice and perform. So he was not one of those wacky goaltenders that you might come across now and then. He was a good teammate. He was an unbelievable competitor, unbelievable work ethic, everybody that played with him or was associated with him will probably tell you the same thing, that every night he gave us a chance to win, and I was very fortunate to have a Roberto Luongo, number one goaltender for all those years. The best duo we had was when Schneid's came on board, and boy, those two guys together, they were really good for one another, supported one another and pushed one another to be the best that they could be. But Roberto was, without a doubt, at the time that he was in the NHL, one of the best there.
Alain, you got to Vancouver at the same time as Roberto. You saw him grow as a person. One of his quotes on Vancouver was, "I wasn't as mature as I thought I was. I wish I would have handled myself a little bit better." He was talking about media, fans, social media. Alain, now it's crazy with social media, athletes, coaches, and everything else. Did you see him grow as a person all the way through, right to the end in Vancouver?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, when he got there, I want to say he was in, the prime of his career. He was 26 or 27. And at that time, you probably think that as a player, you've seen everything that you're supposed to see and you can just play. But I have to say, for someone who's coached in two Canadian cities, Montreal and Vancouver, and I've been fortunate also to coach in two big American cities, New York and Philly, there is nothing like a Canadian environment. There is nothing like the scrutiny of the fans, the love of the fans, the scrutiny of the media, the love of the media also. Until you've played in a Canadian market as a hockey player, you just don't understand everything that goes with it. And one of the things that goes with it is the responsibility to, address the fans on a daily basis and address the media. And it's a responsibility that you have to have, whereas in the States, I mean, hockey is just one of the top 4 or 5 sports there. So there's a lot of scrutiny that goes, in other areas. In hockey in Canada, hockey is number one. And once you've played in a Canadian city, I got to say, there's no other place to play or coach as long as you can deal with the external stuff. And some people deal with it better than others. But I thought Roberto, as his time went on in Vancouver, dealt with it real well. Unfortunately, teams have cycles, and we came real close to winning a Stanley Cup. But then our cycle went a little bit on the downslide. Our players were getting a little bit older because we had come so close. We had, obviously given some youth to be able to make sure that every year our team was as competitive and the best that it could be. And, like I said, every team has a cycle that they have to go through, and we were on the downslide. Louis was on the downslide with the team a little bit, and it just our time was up with as far as being one of the top teams in the NHL.
Alain, we never got your thoughts. 3 of your players went to the Hockey Hall of Fame recently, the Sedin twins and Roberto. How happy were you when those 3 went in?
Very proud, Coach. Very proud, and I understand how lucky I was. Good players make good coaches, and I was fortunate to have a great team. I got to Vancouver, like you mentioned at the beginning, at the same time as Louis did, but I also got to Vancouver at the same time where there was a bunch of young kids that were coming close to their primes, and I don't want to name every one of them, but obviously, I'm talking about the twins, and I'm talking about Ryan Kessler, and I'm talking about Kevin Bieksa and Louis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there were some great additions in my 7 years that were there that made our team competitive and one of the best in the NHL. So I know that I was very fortunate, very lucky. I'm very thankful to all of those players that I got to coach. Vancouver is one of my favorite places. I have got such unbelievable memories from my time there. My family is the same way. And again, coaching in a Canadian city doesn't get much better than that.
Alain, how often do you think of 2011 in Game 7?
I think of it every time someone asks me about it. And, at the end of the day, we did lose in Game 7, but I'm so proud of our team. We were so banged up compared to Boston, and we were still able to, even though we were that banged up, take it to Game 7. It was close. It was competitive. But everybody that played, that was healthy enough to play, gave everything they had, and unfortunately, we just came up a little bit short.
For people who don't know, Alain, what are you up to these days?
Oh, I'm in Florida right now. I would say I'm enjoying the sun, but the last couple of days it's been pretty rainy out here. So I'm working on my golf game. It's not getting much better, but I'm enjoying this time. I had a wonderful years in Montreal, Vancouver, New York, and Philly, and I'm 62 years old now, and I could say that I had a great time in this beautiful business and beautiful life of hockey.
Do you want to get back in the game? Maybe as a head coach in the National Hockey League?
Like I said to my friends and to everybody that was close to me, when I signed my contract in Philly, I made it very clear to the people that were close to me that was my last contract. I was giving myself 5 years to win a Stanley Cup. I've come close twice. So Philly gave me 2.5 years, and they decided that they needed to make a change. I understand that. I respect that. And nothing's happened since I got let go by Philly to make me change my mind about Philly being my last contract.
Florida, sunshine, golf. You sound very happy, Alain. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for this, Alain. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. You guys take care of yourself.
Yeah, you bet.